Take a look. One quick thing here. All right. So let's, yes,
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. My mic wasn't working.
Cena. Yeah, I marked you in. I'm just missing a couple folks. Gift, there, I'm missing you. Gift?
Yeah, it wasn't working for some reason.
Gift, you're here, right?
Yeah.
Good for you. All right, pretty good group tonight. Let's see who we. So tonight, what's on the agenda? Is it the review?
No, I think that's on Wednesday.
So did you guys get the midterm exam already from me?
No.
No. You guys didn't?
No.
Wow, let's see what's going on with that. That's no good. All right. Sherry, I'm going to quick send that out. Hold on, you guys. I need to get that to you all.
Okay.
Hey, Professor.
Pardon me?
I already take roll.
I couldn't hear you. Say it again. All right, I'm getting there. I should have that for you guys in 1 second. Here, let me finish. I want to do this right. And this is one more. Okay. So our group is supposed to have this coming Wednesday, which would be November 4th. Is that right? According to this?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Make sure that's right. Now, that must be really tired of me. Hmm. What's the deal is there? Okay, we're just one step away, and I think it'll be in your laps. Let's see. All right, Sherry, give me the thumbs up or down.
I haven't received it yet.
Nothing? Hmm.
Not yet.
I got it.
He's got it.
So Brittany, you got,
I got
you
it.
said? Lizeth, all right. So I strongly, highly encourage, once I get Sherry's confirmation. Sherry, did you get it?
Yes, I just got it.
Yeah, Sherry gets it. That's my go-to person today. Good. All right, so I want to be sure you don't miss the review. The average score. Oh, well, you guys know you can do the test together, which is good. But some people don't do it. And some people will get a C on this thing, and I just don't get it.
Sorry, Dr. Rickman, it's Alicia. Just joined in. It's been chaotic here at my house.
You're still married, though, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No,
I'm
I
just
have
kid-
my 4 kids.
I was just kidding you, man. I forgot you have those 4 kids. Wow. I got it written right
I
down
mean,
here.
they're
4, I didn't say
older,
4,
but still.
4 children.
Yeah, my youngest is 19.
Oh, my goodness. So, are you still working, or you're not working really, are you?
No, I work here at home,
Yeah.
and I help my kids with their homework. They're smarter than me, and I help them.
marked you in. You sent out the
Thank you.
test review. Be sure you go to get that, all right?
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Right. Let me get going on this. My bad. Just want to make sure you guys got the review.
So we're gonna go over the review.
Pardon me, Naomi? Yeah, we're going to go over the review for sure. Yeah. But not tonight. It says in the memo. Did you see the memo? I sent you a note. Did you get it, Naomi? I guess you didn't hear me.
Yes, I did.
So did you have a
Yes,
chance
I
to
did hear
see?
you.
I'll give you the date and all that so that you have that.
Okay,
Want 'em-
thank you.
Here you go. Do not miss the review. That's all I'm saying. It's really important for learning. All right. So Lizette, where are we now?
We finished up on 463, so we're starting on 7.4,
page
page
is that?
466.
There.
Yes, it should be 466. I think I skipped one page.
See if we're there. Try to get us there in a second. No, we'll start. We'll be in gear. Yeah, that's it. So I'm hoping y'all are saying you can see the book now.
We can.
Yes, sir.
Good deal. All right. Uh, one of the things about the book here is that sometimes they just don't explain. And you're just doing things, and people think, "Well, what are you doing?" So look, uh, hmm, I'm gonna work this one. I'm gonna do this whole problem here from beginning to end, how it should be done. Let's stop this and just go right to what I want to show you. So look, the problem says you have 2x squared minus x equals 3. And what the book wants you to do is graph this thing, tell us all about the graph, and work it. Well, let me show you some real quick things about it first. In order to do this problem, you got to set it equal to 0. So we're going to have 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals 0. Now notice the number in front of this is positive. So that means this graph is going to go like this to hold water. If it was negative, it would go like this. It wouldn't hold water. That's the number one thing to know. The second thing to know is that if you make your x 0, now let's go back to making this a function. So we have 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals f of x. If we make our x 0 in the ordered pair, that's a 0, that's a 0. The only thing left is minus 3, and that's what equals y. That point is on this graph where it intersects the y. Now, we don't know where it hits the x. That's the last important thing to know. These are called the x-intercepts. This one here is the y-intercept. Now, they hardly ever teach the y-intercept. Why? It's very important. They just think it's so easy they don't teach it, because all you have to do is make the x 0, and boom, you get negative 3. Now, go back to that. We had of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 3. Now, if we set this up equal to 0, like this, 2x, so I'm going to do it like a book does, do it backwards. We have to factor this. We're going to bring down our 2x squared. We're going to bring down our minus 3. If something times something equals negative 6, that's 2 times this. And those same two numbers added together have to equal the middle term. In this case, it's a negative 1. The answer for that is negative 3 and 2. That means this is a negative 3x. This is a positive 2x. This is the FOIL system. This tells us what the middle term is. Next thing you do is you group them. You factor out an x. You get 2x minus 3. If you have it on the left, you have to have 2x minus 3 on the right, and you do. You have to multiply that by 1 to get the same thing again. So our factors are x plus 1 coming from here and here. The other factor is what you can see, it's 2x minus 3 coming from here and here. Now, what makes this package 0? Negative 1. What makes this package 0 is you take this number, put it underneath the 3, and change the sign. That's 3 over 2. So that means that ordered pair is 3 over 2. This one's negative 1 is 0. So in that graph, we know that this point here is 3 halves is 0. This point here is negative 1 is 0. This point here is 0, negative 3. From that work up there. And this thing holds water. So it shapes like this. All that is what they're trying to teach you. Again, the easiest part of this is the y-intercept. That's this thing down here, the 0, negative 3. You just make it 0. Boom, you get negative 3. Knowing which direction to go is probably easier because the leading coefficient is positive. Finding these two x-intercepts is the hardest part, and that's what you got to do. Now, we haven't even begun the problem yet. I just wanted you to see what they're trying to teach you. There it is on the algebraic solution. You have the negative 1, 3 halves. They show you the intersection of the graph here, just like we did. I showed you the negative 3, 0, where they show it. And it holds water. I hope this if you understand this problem, that is really critical. Now, we're going to make it more complicated. I'm surprised it started out at this complication. It's pretty complicated already, in one sense, because it wasn't set up equal to 0. Now we're going to go to number 2. Now, this is 2x squared minus 10 equals 0. You have 2x squared plus 10 equals 0. You're trying to get x by itself, so you have 2x squared equals a positive 10. Divide both sides by 2, you get x squared equals 5. Take the square root of this side, take the square root of this side, you get x. This side you get always plus or minus. Square root of 5 is your answer. Now again, remember, if we said x squared equals 9, we always know that the x has to be plus or minus. Plus or minus 3. 3 squared is 9, and a negative 3 squared is 9. That's why you always have plus or minus. Yeah, let's go back. Oh. You have 2x squared minus 10 equals 0. We can graph this. We can write this as f of x equals 2x squared minus 10. We're going to simply say y equals 2x squared minus 10. And we can graph this with our calculator. Just got to put it in. You get all this information from your calculator. So we'll clear this. Let's see if our calculator's still around, if it's sleeping. It's sleeping a little bit there. Clear it out. We're going to go to y equals. We're going to put in just what we said. 2x squared minus 10. We put 2x squared, push it out, minus 10. In Spanish, 10 was the diez, right?
Yes, 10.
All right, so we're just going to graph it. You do not hit enter, you have to graph it. It's going to give us the graph. And notice where it hits here, down here, on the x's. What is this point here on the y? Where does it intersect with the y?
Negative 10.
Exactly, because your x's are 0. This all you got left is negative 10. And people say, well, what? Well, look. Here's what we say. Remember the equation? 2x squared minus 10 equals f of x, which is y. If x is 0, so in order for that 0, x squared is 0, y must then be left to negative 10. So it's 0, negative 10, down here. That's where it hits, 0, negative 10. All you got to do is put 0 in the equation. Put 0 in for x. Goes away, y equals negative 10. Easiest calculation, that's why they don't teach it. So, again, so you can see again. There's our graph. Now, if you didn't believe 0, 10, go to your second table. And look, 0, negative 10 is right on that fourth row. We can move this anywhere we want. Now, if you find an x equals 0, then that's where it's going to hit, if it's a whole number. But we don't have an x equals 0. So we have to use the other method. And that is what we just did, to get the x's by themselves. All right, so that's number 2. And I beat it to death, but let's go to the next one. I'm thinking you're learning a little bit here. I'm hoping some of this makes sense, so that when we get to the review, you're going to say, yeah, I kind of remember that, and we're good. So, again, I want this class to have the highest score. Okay, now, completing the square. Let's see if we get a problem here. This is a unique thing. Usually to complete the square here, the x term must be 1. So look at this problem. You have 2x squared minus 1/3. I don't like this problem. Let's see. Was number 3 completing the square? Let's see. I mean, I can do that problem, but it's not one to learn by, that's for sure. I mean, it's not hard, but it's not easy. They should put out and make it easier. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Here it is. Let's do this one, but that's not really easy either. I want us to find the zeros just by completing the square. Okay, so I'll walk you through the park in this one. You have x squared, f of x, again, means y, equals x squared minus 6x minus 10. So this is a process you gotta know how to do. We'll be on the test. So they say f of x equals squared minus 6x minus 10. Now, in order to complete the square, let me write it like this. X squared minus 6x equals 10. How did I do that? Well, I put x squared minus 6x on the left. I put this negative 10 on the other side, which makes it a positive 10. And I switched it. Does anybody not get how I went from here to here? Saying this be good if you're so. All right, so look, now in order to complete the square, the rule says you take half of the middle number, and that's your square. So it becomes x minus 3 squared. Now, technically, when you square that, you're adding a number right here, adding a number right here. What number would it be? Well, take x minus 3 times x minus 3. X times x, which is x squared. This times this gives you a minus 3x. This times this gives you another minus 3x, which gives you the 6x, which you see up there. And then you got to take 3 times 3, which means you added 9. So technically you're adding 9. And if you add 9 to the left, you have to add it to the right. So this then equals 19. 10 plus 9 is 19. Now to get x by itself, I gotta take the square root of all this. And you get whatever's inside, because this number matches this number, you get x minus 3. But if you do that, you gotta take the square root of the other side. So that's gonna equal the square root of 19. Now get x by itself, remember that's plus or minus. To get x by itself, we'll put 3 on the other side. So x equals then 3 plus or minus the square root of 19. That's how you're supposed to do that problem. But that doesn't seem right. Yeah, it is right. You had 9 to the left, gotta add 9 to the right. So let's see if that's right for the book. 3 plus minus square root of 19. For some reason, I'm just not getting one fuzzy on it, but I think that's right. See, there it is, 3 plus or minus square root of 19. So now let's go to the next one. The next one is fractional. You hardly ever get those, but in reality, that's possible. So first of all, you have 2x squared minus 1 equals 3x. Push everything to the left-hand side. 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. That's your second line. Now, in order to complete the square, you got to get x squared by itself. You can't have the 2 in front of it, so you divide everything by 2. So you get x squared minus 3 of x equals 1/2. That's the fourth line here. Well, the same rule applies. You got to take half of 3 halves. Half of 3 halves is what? Multiply by that is 3/4. Hey, just multiply by 1/2. That's all you got to do. So you get x minus 3/4 squared. Now, technically, 3/4 squared means you're adding 9/16. So you're having 1/2 plus 9/16. One half is technically is 16 8/16, because 1/2 is equal to 8/16. 8 plus 9 gives you 17/16. They take the square root of the left, you get whatever's inside, x minus 3/4. Take the square right, you get the square root of 17, or the square root of 16, which is 4 plus or minus. Then they add the 3/4. Now, the only thing they can do to make this thing, and by the way, they write it 2 ways. The solution at the bottom is 3 plus the square root of 17 over 4, and 3 minus square root. But you see, the 3 plus or minus square root of 17 over 4 is normally the last one, what we'd see. The only thing they can do to make this more complicated is that you have to rationalize the denominator. Now, what would that mean? It's this. Let's say you got an answer that looked like this. 2 plus or minus the square root of 16 over 3. That's equal to 2 plus or minus 4 over the square root of 3. The square root of 16. Now, the rule is in math, you cannot have the square root of 3 in the denominator. So you're going to multiply the bottom by the square root of 3. Here you do the bottom, you got to do the top, which gives you then 2 plus or minus 4 times the square root of 3 all over 3. Because when you multiply something by itself, you get whatever's inside. 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. That's the only complication they can add. Well, I take that back. There is one other one. They can make it an imaginary number. Well, let me show you that without doing it. Let me show you what happens here. This is interesting. This is not going to be hard. So look, if you know what you're doing here is finding the x-intercepts. That's this part here, and this part here, and this part here. This is the y-intercept here. That's the y. These are the x's. Now, in reality, here's what can happen. Let's say the graph is here. There are no x-intercepts. So they become imaginary i's. They still have a y-intercept, but no x-intercepts. So they become imaginary. That's the only thing they can do to make it more complicated. It's not complicated. But I think you should understand. Let's take a look. We did this one. With the next page. So now they're telling you use the quadratic equation. This is the quadratic equation. Now, before we found our answers using FOIL and or getting x by itself. What they're setting you up here for is imaginary numbers where it really doesn't work. Now, it can work using the quad, but let's go to the next page and see. Okay. So look. Look at this second line. It says 3x squared plus 2x minus 7. Equals 0. They want us to find the x-intercept. By the way, what is the y-intercept here? Somebody, easiest calculation in the world. What's the y-intercept?
The 3.
If you make x is 0, what does y equal? Look at this first line. It says 3x squared, 2x equals 7. If you make your x 0, what does y equal?
Seven.
Exactly. Only thing you have left is 7. Easiest calculation. It's always going to be that number. Now the question is, what are the x-intercepts? So they push the 7 to the other side. They do not complete the square. Most students think this is the best method by far. The easiest. They plug in the a, which is 3, the b, which is 2, and then you put it in there, the formula. It comes out. Negative 1 minus square root of 22 over 3, and 1 plus the square root of 22 over 3. And you can put that in your calculator if you want to figure out what that is. Let's just do 1. Do the first one, negative 1 minus square root of 22 all over 3. Just got to put this in our calculator and see if we come up with a negative 1.80797. Just don't want, I want you guys to get used to your calculator so you can get the right tool. We're going to clear this or stop. We're going to open up our parentheses. We're going to put in our negative 1. That's this thing. That's a negative sign down here. 1, not the minus, negative 1. Again, this time it's minus now. The square root of 22. We have to go to second. Square root of 22. That's right there. Put in there 22. Push it out of that. Close our parenthesis. Divide everything by 2. That was what the problem was. So the top is in parentheses, and work that. Divide it by 2, and we hit enter. And is that what the
You-
work was?
Accidentally put 2 instead of 3.
It was supposed to be 3?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, heck. Thank you. That's good. Negative 1 minus square root. No, go. Okay. Close parenthesis. We said 3, right?
Yes.
And that's the right answer. Exactamundo. You guys know that. That's good. Perfect. Number 6 is going to be the same problem, except for look what happens in number 6. There's the graph. So your brain should say, look, Dr. Wiggins said use my calculator. I got x squared plus 5x plus 8. I'm going to put that in my calculator first because that means y equals that. 0 is y. So, and by the way, what's the y-intercept there? It's 6.
It would be the 8.
Exactly. It's what that number is. It's because x is 0. So it's 8. So look. What's the leading number in front of the x squared? It's positive 1. So we know it holds water. We know the y-intercept, but instead of going through all the calculations, we're going to go to our calculator. And the reason why we're going to go to our calculator before we work this problem is we're going to find out if it has an x-intercept. Again, we have the y equals. We said it is x squared. We're going to do an x, upper arrow squared. Push it out. Minus 6x. And then minus 10. And then we're going to graph it. We must have did something wrong. Was it not x squared minus 6x minus 10?
I think it was x squared plus 5x plus 8.
Geez, I can't, x squared. Did I write that down wrong somewhere? X squared plus 5x plus 8?
Yes. I think that's it. I'm not sure.
I'm sure that's probably right, because this is not right. X squared. Who was that?
Is that?
Okay. Thank you for keeping square for that book. Plus 5x, you said?
Yes. Plus 8.
Let's graph it. And there's your y-intercept. It's the tan, just like we said. It doesn't have any x-intercept, so why go through the work and try to figure it out? Now, the book's going to say you got to do it. Okay, so we do it. Why? Because they're imaginary. There are no x's, but they're going to come up with some because they're imaginary, which is the next part of this. So that's what we'll do. At least you know in advance that they're imaginary. That means they don't exist. So, identify on the left-hand box, you can see it. There it is, the algebraic solution. The a in front of the x squared is 1, the b in front of the x is 5, and the c is 8. You put it in your calculator, you get negative 5 plus y squared, negative 7. But once you get the square root of a negative number, it's imaginary. So as soon as you see it's 7i, negative 5 halves, and a positive, negative 5 halves plus the square root of 7 halves, and minus the square root of 7 halves. It doesn't exist, but at least you found them. So on the test, we'll say find the imaginary squares, or find the imaginary x-intercepts. It might say find the x-intercepts if any. And you're going to say no, but you got to find the imaginary, and that's it. So all you got to do, plug it in. Of course, on the right is the graph, which we did. We already did the graph. You can practice it. I mean, that's a great practice problem for the imaginary. Let's see if we're going to do anything else here. The discriminant. Yeah, it's very important. Discriminant is the negative b over 2a. Now, let me explain that, because it's really important. It's really easy. So look, you have a graph. Say goes like this. This is your x. This is your y. Now let's say we want to find the vertex. That's the highest point. In order to get this easy, we just take a negative b over 2a, and that's your x. Now, if you have an equation, you just plug that into your equation, and you get your y. How simple it is. And that will give you the vertex. Now, the x part will give you that part right here, and the y will give you that part up here. That's what it's all about. Let's see. And I figured, I think you're also going to do this one, number 7. I'm going to do number 7 for you as well. This is on the test too. This is a hard chapter. This one needs to be explained gently. Now, if you look at number 7, there's no way that you can solve for a quad, fourth power. It's best to change it to a square. So let's go do that. Let's do the work, make it look easier manually. So the problem was x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4 equals 0. Now, the issue is this 4. We need to change that to a 2. Now, the rule is it will all, we're going to make this x here a u. And we're going to call it u squared. Why? Because u is always going to be equal to the middle term without the number in front of it. That's x squared. If you look in front of, if you look at the middle term right here, you'll see that it's a negative 5x squared, but u will always equal the middle term. So now think about it. If u is x squared, like right here, if we put in x squared for the u, it now becomes x to the 4th. It's 2 times 2 is 4. U is not u is really x squared. So the next part becomes negative 5. But what comes after 5 in this case? Remember, what does x squared equal to?
X squared.
What is it equal to?
U.
So we go minus 5u plus 4 equals 0. Because remember that x squared is equal to u. Now we can factor this. This becomes u minus 5. Wait, what is it? No, yeah. No. I made a mistake there. It's u minus 4. And u minus 1 equals 0. So you set up there u equals 4. So that would equal 0. And then u equals 1. Because look, if u is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. The other one, u equals 4, because if 4 minus 4 would equal 0. But u is not u. What is u really?
X squared.
So we put x squared then equals 4. That's right. We take the square root of the left. We got to take the square root right. We get x equals, what goes on the right?
Square root of 4 or 2.
That's right. Now, x squared then equals 1. So what does x equal? Plus or minus 1. Square root of 1 is 1. So you have 4 possible roots, which you do have up there because there's a 4. 2 plus 2 gives you the 4. That's how you do it. Now, back to the book. Look at the book. They give you the u minus 4 and u minus 4 here, and they say substitute u for x squared. This is the explanation they give you. Doesn't walk you through the part like I did, but you have u minus 1 equals 0. I like that in their third line, or u minus 4 equals 0. Then u equals 1 or u equals 4. Take square root left, take square root right, you get u equals plus or minus 1, or excuse me, x is equal to plus or minus 1, x is plus or minus 2. That gives you 4 solutions. Now, this is a cube one. It's the same thing. The middle term will always be whatever's in the middle. So u is going to equal t to the 1/3 power. You can see it. Once you have that, it becomes u squared minus 2u minus 3. The hardest part is getting your brain to go from the t to the 2/3 minus 2t to the 1/3 minus 3 to u squared minus 2u minus 3. Understanding how you go from that problem to that line with the red u's. And that's all. That the easiest way to just to think about it is u will always equal the middle term minus the 2. So the first one will then always be u squared. Second one will always be minus 2u, then minus 3. We can FOIL those and so on. Now in the cube, you got t to the 1/3 power equals -1. So you cube left. Well, let me do that part for you, because that is a little different. T to the 1/3 equals -1, and t to the 1/3 equals 3. So let's do that. Make sure that makes sense. When we did the solution, we got t to the 1/3 power equals -1. In order to get t by itself, we want to multiply by the reciprocal, 3/1. That gives you 3/3, and that gives you t by itself. But then you got to cube this one too. Still gives you -1. On the other side, you get t to the 1/3 power plus 3. Now, in order to get t by itself, we got to multiply by the reciprocal. It's 3/1. It gives you t. And you got to cube this one too. It gives you 27. These are the 2 possible answers. So all they do here in this problem in China, they use the what? They use the quad. They set it equal to 0. Well, let's show you. They tell us they want us to use the form in which you're given by plugging 12 into the h of x equation. That's the second line. This is grade school stuff. The first line is it a complicated equation? Yes, 30.992x squared, so on. You put this in your calculator and you get the answer which they show below, which is 6,807. That's all you got to do. That tells you how many museums. Now, the second part, B. B is a little more complicated. I hope you all understand the first part was just a matter of substituting 12 in for the x. The second part, we came up with some years. It says they want to know if you put 26 in for the number of museums, can we solve for x? Well, in order to do that, we got to set it equal to 0. So we subtract 2,600 from the left. If you subtract it from the right, you get the equation 30.992 x squared plus 41.08 x minus 35.406. That last line hurts your brain. And what they use is the quadratic equation. They put the a in there, the b, and the c. All those red things are those numbers. Using the calculator, I get 2 numbers. 3.074 or 3.206. So if we're looking for the year after 2005, obviously the negative number is no bueno. You can't use it. You can only use the positive number. And it's about 3 years, and 3 years. So 2005 converts to 2008 because the whole formula is based on 2005. This is not a hard problem. It's just difficult math-wise. Still home is the same thing. Let's go to the next chapter, which is on page, which won't be so hard. Analyzing a graph of quadratic functions. 7.5. You know what page that is?
7.5 is 483. That's the first example.
Good deal. What we need. I want this class to hammer itself to death with. Let me just check while we are still here. Naomi, did you make it in?
Yes, Professor, I'm here.
Good deal. Let's see who else. That's everybody, I think. Ramos, you still with us? No. Selena? Lopano? Selena, you still with us? All right.
You're going through attendance again?
I was just wondering if you were still here.
Yeah.
Good deal. Okay, finding the vertex of the axis symmetry of these. Well, they want us to complete the square. If you recall what we did for completing the square, let's look at, let me just do that one for you again too, because I don't want your brains to feel like I'm just going the easy way because I say, well, I just did it. I want to refresh your minds. So the equation was x squared plus 10x plus 23. If you remember, we could write this to be x squared plus 10x equals a negative 23. Push this to the other side if we set that equal to 0. Half of 10 is 5, so you get x plus 5 squared. Now, when you add 5 in there, technically you're adding 25, because 5 plus 5 is 25. Add it to the left, you have to add it to the right. Equals 2. So then you'd have x plus 5 squared minus 2 equals 0. I think that's right. Let's see what they say on theirs. And they do. They have x, you can see the second last line, x plus 5 squared minus 2. Now, this tells you that the vertex is negative 5. And if you put a negative 5 in there, you get 0, and so y equals negative 2. So the vertex is negative 5, negative 2. Again, look at the second last line. Make that x 0, you put in a negative 5. So that's the x. And when you put in -5 in that second last line, you get 5 minus 5. 0. 0 squared is 0. So y must equal -2. Boom. And that's where it is, 5, -5, -2. Now, does it hold water? Well, let's look. Of course it holds water, because the leading coefficient is positive. Boom. To find the x-intercepts, you're going to take the quadratic equation. Okay, you can do that here. There you go. Now they want us to find the vertex and axis of symmetry for this one as well. You have leading coefficient. You pull out, you see g of x equals x squared over 2 minus 4x plus 8. If we pull out the half, the x squared stays as is, but the minus 4 becomes 8 because half of 8 is 4. So now you have it in kind of the form you need it. They complete the square. Half of -8 is -4, -4 is 16. You know the process, you add it to both sides. But technically, you're only adding 8 because it's a half. 1/2 times 16 is 8. And it's a -8. So you get the equation of 1/2 open parentheses x minus 4 squared plus 0 because -8 and 8 gives you 0. The part in parentheses right above it is your square. To the right of the square is the -8 and +8, and that gives you the 0. The vertex is 4, that's 0, then the y is 0. Let's get that. Let's go to the next one. I'm only going to try to teach you the ones you're going to have that will affect you. I mean, you've seen how these work. The axis of symmetry is always the x here. You can see it is here. That's another part of the learning process. To get this little point down here at the bottom, you take a -b over 2a, that's your x, and you plug it into the equation. We did the vertex thing already, -b over 2a. So let's just do number 4 and call it a night. Let's focus on using our brains before we fall and feel it. So let's just look at it. First of all, it's a -x squared, so this thing's not going to hold water. It's going to be upside down. The y-intercept is going to be -47 because x is 0. Now, our calculator is not going to graph it unless we change the windows on it. But we can find the vertex. The vertex is a -b, that'd be a -14, all over 2a. A is a -1. So the -14 over -2, so that's 7. So the vertex for this inverted graph, remember it doesn't hold water, x is 7. How do you get the y?
So the y is 7.
The x is 7.
Oh, the x is 7. Okay.
How do you get the y? How do you guys get the y?
You plug it into the quadratic formula,
No.
the ABC.
What was the equation? Remember the equation?
Negative x squared plus 14x negative 47.
And that equals our y. And what did we say our x was?
The x was the 7.
Exactamundo. So if x is 7, plug it in to get our what?
Oh, the y.
Yes. So you have a minus 49 plus 7 times 14. $98 minus 47. So you have a minus 49 and a minus 47. That's a minus 96. 98 minus 96 gives you 2. So the order pair is 7, 2. I think that's right. X is 7, that's 49, so it's minus 49 because the minus in front of it. 7 times 14, they carry 2, so it's 98. 47 and 49 both negative, you 96. That gives you 2. So 7, 2 is this point right here. Boom. And the x must be up here somewhere. Right here, way down here is the point on the y. 0, 47, negative 47. Because that's your negative 47 number. Let's take a look. We said this is our last one, so you got to. We plug in 7, found it was to be 2, and there you have it. Vertex is 7, 2. That's all we want you to calculate in this. That's this point. The leading coefficient is negative, so this graph on the left shows it exactly because it does not hold water. Okay, you guys good with that so far?
Yes.
I didn't want you guys to dive too much during this because this is not an easy one, but I will critically remind you guys that you need to be here for the review. I did the attendance again the second time. Are there any questions of me? You all got a message, so everybody should know the review is Wednesday. I don't want anybody to say, oh, he didn't tell us. Once I talk to you all, I wanted to mention to you all because we have almost perfect attendance tonight, or we did at one point. So any questions of me? I want to thank all those that help me out all the time. Jose for videoing, Seth keeps me straight. Angela, just for letting me know that she's still with us. And of course, Sherry, Sherry's my go-to person almost all the time. We're sending out stuff. I'll call her in the middle of the night. Hey, did you get it? What? Who's this? It's Dr. Wickman. Oh yeah, I know you. So thank you all. Appreciate you guys. Good group.
Thank you, Dr. Whitman.
Thank you, Dr. Whitman.
You guys are really a good group. Appreciate you all. See you. See you Wednesday for the review.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes, sir.
Bye.